Hello there, everyone, and welcome to Super Cast Brothers, the Smash Brothers themed podcast gets less views than any other podcast. Yeah, we all know it's true, but that's fine. We also don't care too much, because this is really just wish fulfillment that we all do here, you know? I'm Zantok, otherwise known as Lister. That's Jonno, otherwise known as John. You know, it's really... Didn't take much creativity to come up with his name down, did he? It's like, what could I do for my name? John? No, that doesn't work. Oh my god, wait, I had an idea, Jonno. Holy shit, I'm a genius.
Could have
Meanwhile,
been
there's
Jay.
me over here, and I was just like, what are some weird sounds that I could make? Zan. Talk? What if I put them together? Talk Zan? No, Zantok. Yeah. That's it. That's the origin of all of us. Listen, some people have cool stories on how they got their internet names, and I'm just like, dude, I literally just made up sounds and put together what sounded nice. And
My name does have a story, but we can save that for another day.
yeah, somebody rejected your original idea of just John, and they said no, and just like, oh my god, wait. You know it's true.
No, although that does remind me that Trevor, his TurboTaxer username comes from that origin, is that TurboTaxer was going to be his password, and he accidentally put the password in the username section, and then look at what happened from there.
Yep. I think he said before what his original username was supposed to be, but I don't remember what it was. Probably
Was this
something
going to be his
Earthbound related.
first? Nope, it was just his first initial, and then his middle name, and then the age that he was at the time. It's going to be T Austin 15.
TurboTaxer's better.
So TurboTaxer's better.
Never make your username be anything related to your name.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you can actually make it sound good. But T Austin? No.
Austin. No.
Also, try and avoid putting numbers in your name if possible. This is a general
Remember
rule.
when he also went by Small Tall Trevor for a while? It was after the like giant and small islands in Super Mario 64. It's like, hey everyone, I call myself Small and
How
Tall
would I
Trevor.
remember that when Super Mario 64 was before Smash Melee, which was before Mercurios? How would I have remembered that?
It came after Mercurius, though. It came after Mercurius.
Not from what you just said.
Okay, he was basing it off those islands. That was his justification, but the name came around a number of years after Mercurius.
Also, it was Tiny Huge
maybe
Island.
2013 or 14.
That's what it's called.
Oh,
how do I know? I made a Smashtopia stage out of it.
Yeah, you did. Tiny Huge would have been even funnier because we kind of ribbed him for Small Tall as it was.
Those both names are really bad. Don't call yourself Small Tall or Tiny Huge or Huge Tiny or Tall Small or Small whatever the other order was. Yeah, TurboTaxer is married now. That's weird.
Yep.
You know what else is weird?
Yep.
Smash Brothers got name dropped in the first episode of Ms. Marvel.
Also true. I thought it was stranger that it was mentioned in Obi-Wan episode 3, but you know, you win some and you lose some.
No, what was strange when it got mentioned in Stranger Things?
Yeah, that doesn't make much sense, does it?
It doesn't at all.
Guess it's on that American Nintendo or whatever.
I forgot about that. It's like, oh my god, are they actually buying this? Holy shit.
Mm-hmm.
And if we would eventually get an American Nintendo, it was just called the Xbox. So, you know, it's been in deep production since the 80s. We all thought it was just, you know, they wanted to get in on that PlayStation action, but no, it's been in development a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say about that episode of Stranger Things, what the hell?
Man, that's too many kids. That's too many kids right there.
Yeah.
Don't.
Yes, it is.
Don't.
Mm-hmm. A never-ending story of children, I guess.
Never-ending story of close your legs.
They're a Christian household.
Mormon, actually. They're Mormon.
Oh, a Mormon out.
Yeah.
Even better. Even better.
They live in Utah.
Okay, yeah. Okay, they filled the quota then.
Actually, I'm pretty sure you're not supposed. Well, okay, I don't know anything about Mormon. I was reading comments about it, and somebody was saying the effect of like, yeah, no, that's Mormonism. You don't stop having kids. And it's like, oh god, we are overpopulated as a whole, as it already is. Please, no, God, no, no more people on this
Yeah, that's
planet.
the general idea. Although the one Mormon that I'm good friends with had their tubes tied. So I mean,
There's a few families from my hometown, not Mormon, but there's a few
Mhm.
families in my hometown that also practice must have a billion kids. It's like, oh my god, can you please not?
Oh
Jesus
yeah,
Christ.
oh yeah. I mean, my family in general. I mean, we come from, gosh, like brothers and sisters up like 9 or 10 of them per generation.
Hmm. If anything,
Hmm.
seeing that episode just reinforced it. It's just like, you know what? I'm good not having kids. Like, no, I'm fine. Dad don't need to
If it was
fuck with
bad,
that.
if it was bad back then, it'll be worse now too. So, uh, um, you were reading a comic book about Mormonism?
No, there was a comments about Stranger Things episodes.
Oh, comments.
Dude. Yeah, I was reading a comic book about Mormonism. No. I feel like that would be against Mormonism to have a comic book about you. I don't know anything about Mormonism.
They're like,
If
this will
anybody
get them
is
in.
watching this and they're upset with me, I don't know shit, okay? I don't know shit. I just talk shit.
I won't say any more. I just won't say anything else.
Yeah, it's best not
I
to get
have
into those
thoughts.
subjects. We're only commenting on it in from what we see in a TV show, and that's the extent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All right. So, let's supercast for those, right? That Smash for those podcasts that we feel like we need to make because we feel bad about ourselves, and it's just something to try and fill the void in our empty, miserable lives. Man, I should
Yeah,
just say
that
that for
and
an
Mr.
intro.
Jackal Jackson is watching it.
Maybe
Hey, Jackal.
if they didn't already
Yep.
quit,
Oh well.
I would have quit by now.
They realized it was on a 2-week release structure, not a 1-week release structure like they wanted.
Also, they're not always up in 2 weeks like they're supposed to be.
That's on both of us.
Yeah.
So, oh well.
But this is a Smashtopia episode where we make a move
Mm-hmm.
step for a character. And we like so far, we don't know if this is always going to be the norm, but so far we've done each season has been one episode where we remake a move step for a character that's actually in Smash. And I always like to be coy about this, even though it's in the episode title, but hey, you know. At the end of the last episode, I gave a teaser saying that the character that we'd be doing this time, I see, would be a character whose amiibo I recently got signed. So, hello, Byleth.
Holy shit, we're doing Byleth today?
The character that we have
Sorry,
shit
I'm a
talked the
doper.
most on that podcast. It is time for us to put up or shut up. Much like how Byleth doesn't speak. So yeah, at the Planet Comic Con convention that I have in my local area, I got to meet Zach Aguilar, the voice voice actor for the male version of Byleth. Technically, not the original
Cool.
voice actor, because the original actor got their ass
Mm-hmm.
fired because I don't remember why.
I forgot about
I think it
that.
was. I think they broke NDA. I think that's what it was. So they got kicked out, and they had all their voice work redone by Zach. So I got to talk to him a little bit. He is Team Blue Lions. And while I only paid for the amiibo to be signed, he gave me a bonus. He gave me this.
Oh, nice.
He signed that as well. So some of the people they charged extra for quotes. He did not charge extra. He didn't charge me at all for this. I don't know if he would have charged for the quote or not, but he didn't. So he signed it. He also wrote Byleth, and he just is on there saying, "Allow me to demonstrate with Byleth and Sothis." I was like, "Fuck yeah, that's awesome."
That's awesome.
I wish your character worked better in Smash. I didn't tell him this, obviously, but this is pretty fucking awesome. Let me just put that back up.
That
there,
is very cool.
so nothing happens to it. Eventually, I got to figure out how I'm going to put things on these walls. I don't know, man. I could just take a push pin through everything. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now because framing is
Hmm.
expensive. But I got a lot of
If
shit.
it is, yeah, a frame, I mean, God, you'd be lucky to find one for 40, 50, $60 these days.
Mm-hmm.
A good one, anyway.
Yeah. And then it's also you have to have the
Hmm.
little thing on the back to mount them as well. It's like, man, push pins would just be easier. The one thing about it is just like I
Hmm.
feel like for the artwork that I got, like I feel like that'd be a little bit of shame. It's like I'm putting a hole through this, but what can I do? It feels a little
Yeah.
sacrilegious, but it's cheaper than frames by a lot.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Although I see your mighty Pegasus work is framed. That's cool.
Well, that actually was given to me framed. He gave it to me framed.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Nice.
He's still working on the one with the DLC fighters. I haven't seen any updates lately on Facebook, but either I just missed it or he's been busy with other things. I know that he's also he's still going to other conventions at the same time, so he's got a lot of shit he's doing.
Busy guy. He makes the art and then he has to sell it.
Yes. All
Sweet.
right.
So yeah,
So we're gonna be
Byleth
talking
is a
about
thing.
Byleth, but before we get into Byleth,
Hmm.
like we like to do, we're gonna do some showcases of some other things around the Smashtopia wiki. So, Jonno, why don't you go ahead and kick us off with one of the ones you want to showcase today?
Okay. Rolling things back here. Um, I think maybe a couple of months from here because I'm doing 365 Smashtopia submissions for 365 days in the year this year, as everybody knows who watches and loves this podcast, which is you and me, and maybe Mr. Jackson. Hi, Mr. Jackson. So what we're dealing with here is Maria Renard. I'm just trying to figure out when I did that one. I think it was back in March somewhere. Or no, it was March. Okay, on March 24th, I submitted Maria Renard from Castlevania as a character on the Smashtopia wiki. Um, she is not a Belmont, but she's a distant relative of them, who was captured by Dracula's followers for this reason. Um, and arguably probably the most popular little strand of Castlevania, like Rondo Blood Dracula X Symphony of the Night. Um, she doesn't use the Vampire Killer Whip or anything usual for Belmonts.
Mm-hmm.
She has the power of celestial beasts on her side, deietic animals from from the celestial realms. I don't know why. I don't know if anyone knows why she has this connection to them, but she does. And
Because
her
they
moveset.
wanted a magical person. They wanted a magical girl, okay? Because isn't she
Yes,
12 or something like that?
she was pretty. Yeah, she's around 12 or 13 in the original release. I can't remember what exactly. And then by Symphony of the Night, she's like 17, 18-ish.
Yeah.
So she ages up. And this one, it swaps between her younger and older versions, kind of like Ike. Where
For
the
the
moveset doesn't
costumes, you
change,
mean?
just the aesthetic. Yeah, the costumes. As far as her specials go, she's using four of the celestial beasts: Qing Long, Baihu, Suzaku, and Shan Wu. They're probably, as you can tell by the name, it's kind of based off of Chinese and Japanese mythology, where you have Qinglong, who's a dragon, you have Baihu, who's a white tiger, Suzaku is a cardinal, Shanwu is a celestial turtle, and together they're the four main celestial beasts that she uses, and they all appear in her final smash in kaiju form to attack from the background. So I think it's kind of entertaining. Um, so she uses them in different ways. Qinglong appears and kind of encircles her. It's a defensive move, and she can send him rolling forward. Uh, Baihu, she can have him swipe forward with his claws and jump on top of him and kind of move around in this bipedal structure. Suzaku, they're split into two cardinals and carries her up by her shoulders. Shan Wu appears as this giant shell that helps her until she cancels out of it, and then the shell bursts and causes some shrapnel damage. Um, her extra skill is just magic because she's a magical girl. It's the energy ball, kind of the more standard Smash bear like Mewtwo, whoever the hell
The Shadow
uses
Ball.
similar attacks. Yeah, it's basically the Shadow Ball. Can be charged, etc., etc. And she can even crawl and wall jump per this wiki entry. Amazing. But that's that. It was a fun one to do. This was one that you
This was one of my
requested of me.
challenges
It
to
was
you.
yep. It was
Because
and you
I've given many requests to you so far throughout the year, and I wanted to give
mhm.
a Castlevania one, and I don't know Castlevania too well. Just like you know, what's the one Castlevania game I remember playing a lot? Judgment, the shitty fighting game, and Maria was one of the standout characters to me because her weapon in the game is a staff that's topped with a cage with an owl inside of it. I was like, what?
Mhm.
Jonno, give me Maria Renard.
And you do get the owl too. I think it's in her entrance or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
it's in her
one of her
entrance.
alts is also based on the appearance in that game.
Hmm. That's all she's getting. Oh, to be young and excited for Castlevania Judgment.
BDSM Simon. No, you love it.
Seriously. I was excited. I mean, I was a big Death Note fan as a teenager, and still kind of am. And so Sugumi Oba, who worked on Death Note, worked on Castlevania Judgment's art. And I was like, oh, this is exciting. And then we got the art, and I was disturbed.
To be fair, when you look at the Shinigami in Death Note, it kind of tracks.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Oba-san also had character from Castlevania the based on. He's like, nope. Throw that shit all out the window. But fine.
Oh yeah.
Whatever. Yep. It's not a bad idea to use those characters for a fighting game, but the fighting game itself was bad.
I don't know if the gameplay itself was bad. I don't remember too much. I remember, everybody had their own basic fighting style, and they also had like everybody had some kind of like a throwable weapon, kind of like the cross is the holy
Mm-hmm.
fire, or whatever the fuck it was. I can't remember exactly the mechanics of it. It's been years since I played it. But
Right.
yeah, the art style for some characters, like, I don't know about you, Simon. Honestly, I think all of them except for Simon, at least from what I recall, were fine. It's just Simon was one just like, what the fuck is going on here? And then apparently Grant Dynasty was completely changed. I didn't know he was just a
He was a
normal dude.
mummy in
But
Judgment.
he's a mummy kind of dude with chakrams in Judgment, which apparently is not at all Grant Dynasty. It's like, okay.
Who was
Well,
just a pirate.
yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man.
How would I know?
Who was mostly shafted in the Castlevania TV show, too. Anyway.
I mean, he wasn't even in it. They mentioned a
Nope.
town called Dynasty, but that was it.
Mm-hmm. They just couldn't deal with that last name. They're like, this is stupid, and shoved it away.
That nasty.
Yep.
All right. So your first showcase was Maria Bernard, which was somebody that I challenged you to create. My first challenge is a character that I was challenged to create by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Venti from Genshin Impact. I have not
Oh,
played
yeah.
Genshin at all. I have seen I've seen a couple people play it. And I was watching Oz's stream on Twitch, RoboAza, and they were mentioning, it's like, man, I wonder how a Genshin character could work in Smash. And they know that we do the Smash stuff, so they were basically just like, man, I wonder what it would look like if you did it. And it's like, well, I don't know because I don't know these characters too well. I wouldn't even know where to begin. And I basically told him, it's like, well, I would first of all, there's no like a main character other than like the player avatar who doesn't do a whole lot of attacking on themselves. So you just play as all the other characters, that whoever you summon. So it's just like, well, I would start out by trying to find either some kind of a popular character or something that's important to the story. And I was just basically like, who would you request or who would you recommend? They just said, do Venti. It's like, all right, well, I'll start my research there. And it's a good thing they did say Venti because I looked up some of the other characters afterwards, and there are a lot of characters that I just was not inspired by. There are some
Right.
that is some I looked at past Venti, like Arataki. That I was like, okay, you got some cool shit here. I like you. I could do you at some point in the future too, and I might do him. I might also do Tartaglia. I was kind of debating like doing one per element, But then there's the ice
Mm-hmm.
element, which has like pretty much nobody that I'm interested in. So they will be last if I ever decide to do this. Poor ice types. It's a real
Right.
shame. But I looked into Vinti. The wiki for the games are very nice to me. They actually have full descriptions of what all the attacks are, and with video of what they all exactly look like, as well as like idle animations and shit. So I was able to pull things like as direct as I could for Vinti, which was
Nice.
incredibly helpful. So what I ended up doing with Vinti, first of all, his home stage is Mondstadt, specifically the city. That's a place that's very central to him, and I believe like the first quote unquote chapter of the game, and it basically takes place in front of the plaza with the big old statue of Barbados. But Venti, for his entrance animation, it's essentially the summoning animation for whenever you summon a character in the game. I changed it up just a little bit so that well, at least I thought I did. But yeah, it's basically like it's just gonna be like a large golden crystal just gonna like crash onto the stage, kind of like a meteorite, and it'll break open with some burst of bright light, and then Venti will just be seen standing there with his lyre. He's ready to start fighting. Kirby wears his beret for his Kirby hat. His Eptaunt has winds kind of like swirl around his feet as he hovers above the ground. He'll also like hold out his hand as an orb of wind will swirl in his hands for a moment before it dissipates. For his down taunt, he pulls at his lyre and just like strums the strings a little bit with his fingers. And while he does that, there'll be like these little green mystical notes kind of like float away from it. And sometimes he'll even say, "Practice? Me? There's no need." And then for his side taunt, he's gonna like take an apple, just like toss it up in the air a short distance before he catches it in one hand and takes a large bite out of it. Because apparently he likes apples. So I was like, okay, I can run with that. Sure, got it. And the practice quote is like it's a quote that he actually says in the game. So I was like, yes, I can use this. That's such a good taunt quote. For his victory poses, his first one is he'll shoot off a couple quick shots of his bow off to the side of the screen, where he turns around away from the camera and looks back over his shoulder, grinning. His second one, he will spin through the air as winds are surrounding him, for he comes to a stop facing the camera. And then his eyes will be closed when this happens. They'll still hold his lyre in front of him with his cloak blowing out with the breeze, and one leg lifts. What? How am I describing this? I'm gonna have to read this part verbatim because that's not making sense to me. Venti's eyes will be closed as he holds his lyre in front of him with his cloak blowing in the breeze and one leg lifted upwards as he hovers in the air. I don't remember what this looks like, but it is his pose in the beginning of his character teaser trailer. I apparently forgot what that looks like, but hey, at least I mentioned that part, so anybody that has seen that knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Additionally, as he does this, he'll say, "The wind has returned." And then his last victory pose will see Vinti throw his lyre up into the air, and he'll leap up towards it as he's propelled by the winds. He will spin through the air as he gets close to the lyre, and then grab hold of it before facing the camera and swiping his hand across the lyre strings, letting out a burst of wind before posing midair as if he were sitting on the winds themselves, kind of like like a wind chair, which is similar to the splash art when he's being spun. Actually, I think it's more of a what's the word? A hammock. I think if I'm remembering the
Mm-hmm.
art correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but as for his actual moveset, his standard special uses his bow, his divine marksmanship. Just tapping the button will cause Venti to knock with just a single arrow on the bow, and he fires it forwards. When the arrow is released, it transforms from being like an actual physical arrow to being more like a green wind-like energy arrow that just gets fired out. It does a small amount of damage, but since it's a wind arrow, it's more about knocking people away. So it kind of like has a small wind buff on it. It's more about just like knocking them back instead of doing damage. Additionally, you can tap the special button up to 6 times to do a chain of 6 arrow shots quickly in a row. And then, however many that you did will cause a proportionate delay to what Vinti's able to do after this attack is over. So, if you did all 6, you gotta wait just a little bit longer to do really anything else. His side special is something I invented. It wasn't one of his attacks because he didn't have enough attacks. So all the characters in the game have gliders that they can use to kind of like the hang glider in not hang the paraglider in Breath of the Wild. It's basically like it looks like a set of wings on their back more or less. So what I decided to do for this side special is I call this Wing Rider, which is the name of one of his passives. So he's going to start out by leaping forward if he's trying to tackle somebody into the ground. But as he does this, his glider, the Wings of Azure Wind, are going to like sprout open on his back, and he's just going to transition to a glide. Similar in essence to the gliding mechanic from Brawl. You don't have the full amount of control, but you can tilt the control stack up and down a bit to go up and down through the air. Additionally, here's where this becomes an attack. When you press the special button, no matter where Venti was, he will do a sharp swing upwards with his flight path in order to hit anybody who is above him. This can be used for both vertical recovery just as well as an anti-air attack for anybody who's trying to attack you from above. So there's that. Also, if you can time it just right, you can even carry an opponent upwards with him after hitting them horizontally. If a character Venti flies into them, you hit the special button and you carry them up. It can kind of be used like that. His up special and his down special are actually the same attack, but I took it and I just cut it apart into 2 chunks because there's one move where you can it's called Skyward Sonnet, and you can either just press it or you can charge it, and I decided to just split those into 2 different attacks. So his up special is just Skyward Sonnet. A green glyph appears beneath Venti's feet, which will then, after a brief moment, will cause gales of wind to just manifest and force him up into the air, as well as anybody else that is next to him. So you can just pop himself up into the air with the winds. Similarly, his down special is very similar to that, but it's instead, this is wind domain. So kind of like how Greninja, when you do his side special, there's that little shadow on the ground, right, showing you where the attack is going to be. For this, instead of moving Venti, you'll see some swirling winds, a small little glyph on the ground that you can just control with the control stick. And then when you let go, it will burst out into a larger glyph and then send anything in its range up into the air. But it would not send up Venti if you were to do this when he's next to it. It would only send up opponents or items and such. And compared to Skyward Sonnet, it would send up opponents and items higher up in the air than what it would do for them in the up special. His final smash involves him taking out his bow. Once again, he just fires out a much larger bow of energy in a straight line. Either when it hits somebody or when it travels the length of battlefield, it will then burst out into a sphere of just sharp, swirling wind energy that deals constant to anybody that is in that sphere. If an opponent gets pulled into the sphere, they are trapped in there until the final smash ends. At the end of it, it just kind of bursts out, sending everybody flying from within. Can't make everything be a cinematic, you know?
Mm-hmm.
His extra skill is where things are a little bit weird. So it took me a little bit to figure out how to make this work. But for his extra skill, I'm calling this Anemo reaction. Anemo is what they call the wind element in Genshin. So I can't remember what they call the whole thing, but elements can interact with each other in Genshin to create different effects. And when wind or Anemo reacts with anything, it's called swirl. So what this does is that Venti will hold up his palm in front of him and create a small burst of Anemo wind energy to manifest. If this hits an opponent, this extra skill will deal minor damage and no knockback to them, but it will leave them with a small green wisp of wind that follows them for around 2 to 3 seconds. During this time, if that same opponent is hit by an attack that deals either fire, electric, water, or ice damage, then that attack will combo with the wind damage and cause a swirl to occur. When a swirl occurs, the attack knockback from the previous attack will be interrupted as a small cyclone of energy of the triggering element, again being fire, electric, water, or ice, will surround the opponent and damage them multiple times before sending them flying away in a different direction. So you have a way that you can combo attacks with a teammate. Kind of like multiverses, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
The swirl effect can also be triggered if Venti were to use this extra skill on an opponent within 1 second of them being hit by, again, a fire, electric, water, or ice type attack. Doing this will then cause swirl to trigger in the same way, with the attack's damage type matching the initial type that they were hit with before Venti hit them with his wind attack. Much like how Maria has some additional things to her, Venti can perform 2 additional jumps in the midair, because, wind element. He also drifts through the air slower than most of the characters, giving him greater control in the air, similar to Jigglypuff. And then I just gave Venti a bunch of different colored alts based off of different characters from the game. So you've got Amber, Barbara, Mona, Tartaglia, Zhongli, Sayu, Kazuha, Kaching, and Eula. Yes, there's the Jigglypuff hat. But yeah, that's Venti. Venti was a challenge. It took me a bit to figure out how some of them worked. A lot of it came to divine marksmanship came easy to me, but a few things really the extra skill was the most difficult part I had to really figure out. But it was interesting. I might do more from the series. I don't know. I did make the Mondstadt stage, and I'm planning. I have an assist trophy that I plan to make at some point, but I don't know. I made a lot without having really touched the game at all, so I think I did a good job.
You did. There's some really interestingly realized mechanics in this character, I think. Like with divine marksmanship or with Windrider and having it be like a upgraded kind of glide. I thought
Yeah,
that was a pretty neat move. Mm-hmm.
it took some work.
And just that the bard, so
Yeah,
kind of took it in a
he's
different direction than
also
what
the
other
wind
mentioned.
god
Yeah.
Barbados himself. Like Barbados, just like I feel like walking the world again. So he basically created the Venti form. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna be this dude for a while. It's like, okay, sure.
Kind of like some of the characters in Three Houses.
I,
Ish.
not quite, but ish.
Ish, yeah.
I see the connection.
Yep. Yep.
All right.
Maybe I would say spoilers, but the game's been out for years now, so whoops.
I mean, Three Hopes is about to release, so
No.
the demo's out.
What a trip that'll be. Yep.
Yeah, I like Three Houses, but I don't think I'm gonna play Three Hopes.
I'm just not interested in the way Nintendo and Koei Tecmo are approaching storylines and Age of Calamity, and it looks like Three Hopes.
Yeah, it looks like it's just another set of 3 or 4, who knows, more routes. It's like, really?
You would have thought that at this point it would have been easier to just make the Golden Route
Or
and
just
have a
not.
real life story. Yeah. 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 Most fans seem pretty excited for it. I'm
I mean,
just
it
not.
looks nice. Like I might watch replay,
Mhm.
but I don't. I'm not gonna play it myself.
Yeah. For me, if the story's not there, I just can't commit to that gameplay loop. So
And that's a large part of it for me. It's like I gave Hyrule Warriors 2 shots. I gave Fire Emblem Warriors a shot. And so far, what I've concluded is that my favorite Warrior spin off game is Persona 5 Strikers, which plays the least like a Warrior spin off game. It's like 5% Warriors, 95% Persona. And I liked
that
it.
sounds like a pleasant experience. Yeah.
Probably not the endorsement that they really want for their spin offs. I mean, like, I like the idea of them, but do better.
Yeah, make something that's not attached to a previously existing story. Make the
Or if
Mushroom
you
Kingdom
do, make it a
Warriors.
sequel. Like, if they had done Three Hopes, and it was like, what happened for each route after the story was over, that would have been fucking cool! You can do your whole thing with Shez. Just, I don't like what they chose to do.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know.
Should have just made an entire game about Aloise and Gatekeeper at this point.
Hey, Gatekeeper moveset, yeah, sure. Put Gatekeeper in, that would be fun. Gatekeeper for Smash. I would not even know where to begin with that. I'm not doing it. You made an assist trophy out of him. That's the furthest we're getting.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, what's your second showcase?
Oh yeah, shit.
This one's a wild
maybe it's
one.
more obscene than maybe it's more obscene than a Gatekeeper moveset, actually. It's related to our favorite cuddly green pal Yoshi. It's a product that I actually own, but I'm not wearing it right now. I'm wearing a Jigglypuff hat.
Missed opportunity.
It's
You should have worn it.
You're back.
All right. Well, I'm not going to put up the image because that's going to spoil this. But I will say that because this was something that John had posted this year as part of his moveset a day or Smash with Mission a Day thing. When I saw this come through, I was just like, I'm sorry, what is this? What? What did you do? And I was very caught off guard. There's been some things he's posted this year, and I'm just been like, what? This was definitely in that category. It was not one of the things I requested. It is, in fact, in a reality, in all truths of the word. I was going to say it, but he was taking too long to sit down. I'm waiting on the sitting so I can say it. It's a Yoshi robe. Yeah, that's it. It's an item he made of Yoshi robe. Take it away. You're muted.
As they say
There
in
you
the
go.
item info. Oh, as they say in the item info box on the Smashtopia wiki entry for this Yoshi robe. Yoshi. Anyway, don this comfy robe and you too can act just like Yoshi. It gives you the creative license to act like Yoshi, with roughly twice as many judging eyes, but also twice as much understanding. Because you look like him. So, yeah, in Smash, the Yoshi robe slowly floats down from the heavens. It's kind of just swaying back and forth in the air like a pamphlet. When a fighter grabs it, it will wrap around them, and they'll basically be cosplaying Yoshi. It allows them to move like Yoshi in the sense that they're given an additional jump that operates like a flutter jump. And it can slip off or be knocked off, and you can try and fight to get it back. So it's like the screw attack, but it's a Yoshi robe, but it gives a Yoshi's flutter jump.
How would Rob flutter jump?
Just wiggle his little jet around.
There's some characters that, like, whenever they introduce a new kind of animation, I'm just like, okay, but how is this character going to do that? And they're just like, oh. It's like, gotta figure it out, guys. Oh, dear.
That'll be a new page on the site. It's just how every character will flutter jump.
Yeah. No. Listen,
Imagine
you
like
did a. You did,
flutter.
what stage did you do that had like? Oh no, it was Jin Sakai. The haiku poems.
Mm-hmm.
And if you didn't write all what the haiku poems for each character going to be, you're not going to do the Yoshi robot or the Yoshi flutter animation.
Writing a haiku is harder than one might think.
You're not wrong.
Although, yeah.
You should do like create a page and like start out with like 5 characters. Like each month, just like add 1.
That's a good idea. We'll add that onto the to-do list for.
And it doesn't count as your submission for the day.
We would have 365 in no time if that happened. Oh my god! Remember when Nobusawa made a minutely haiku, like literally every minute of the day for like whole day?
No. Should I? I don't think that happened.
It was actually me pretending to be him. Those are good times.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we got one more showcase, and we're going to jump into Byleth. So, for mine, originally I was going to do something else, but I decided with the recent reveal of the Resident Evil 4 remake, I would cover my assist trophy of The Merchant, which is... I think I did this one shortly after you did your moveset for Leon Kennedy. And I was also no, you did this. Yeah, this was definitely after Leon. Because I've been watching through the Resident Evil games. It's been taking me a bit, but I've been watching through them. I've actually recently finished 7. I'm taking a break before I dive into 8, but 7 was really good. Actually, 6 was absolute dog shit, which, everyone agrees with. But 7 was fucking good. But when I was watching 4, I had the idea. I was like, the Merchant could be an assist trophy. That could be because most people would be like, okay, so if Leon's our character, the assist trophy is probably going to be like Jill or Chris or something. It's like, or the Merchant. So what I decided to do for the Merchant, he's going to just appear on the stage, as every other character does. He's going to start with just like standing in place, kind of looking around him as the fight is taking place, just like kind of nervously glancing at the chaos of the battlefield because he's used to supplying people. He's not used to like being in the middle of the fight. He's a little uncomfortable there. But when a
Mm-hmm.
fighter gets close to the merchant, or they just kind of stayed nearby as using the assist trophy, which is probably going to be the case 90% of the time, the merchant will open up his cloak and say his famous phrase, "What are you buying?" And I said that in a very weird way, but you all know what I mean. As 3 to 6 different weapon based items will just spawn on the ground around the merchant. These items can range from projectile based weapons such as the Super Scope or the coconut gun that I can't remember which one of us created the
Fires
coconut gun. Oh, it was me. I created that years ago. It could be throwable items such as the smart bomb or the sprinkler item that I created from Splatoon, or even melee items like the ore club or the devil axe that you created from Fire Emblem. So that's it. That's really it. Just the merchant appears. You get close to him. He opens up his cloak. Weapon spawn, and then he fucks off because he doesn't want to be here anymore. And the only other note I had on him is that if 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 let's assume assist trophies are turned on for items, but if all of the other weapon-based items that the merchant can spawn have been turned off in the item settings, then the merchant will not spawn. Because what can he do?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But that's it.
That's
That's the merchant.
fun. I was hoping to see him in the trailer for Resident Evil 4 remake, but
I
we'll get
honestly
there.
was too.
Mm-hmm. That would be great. I mean, that looks really fucking good. So this is a nice little tie-in. It's a fun assist trophy.
I saw some people saying that they weren't happy that the main antagonist that you see in the trailer, he doesn't have like the as much cheese to his dialogue as he had in the original game, and people were just like, "Oh, come on, you're taking out all the fun." It's like, I don't know. I mean, it was just one trailer. Who knows? That said, I know a lot of people weren't
Yeah.
like didn't like some of the changes they made to the 3 remake. So who knows?
Right.
Visually, I
Right.
mean,
And then
four
some.
never looked bad visually. Four never looked bad.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
I thought 2 and 3 were really good when they remade them, but I wasn't attached to the original ones either. So.
yeah, I mean, I wasn't either. I watched the originals and then I watched the remakes, and visually the remakes are I mean easily superior. But I can understand why people might
Mm-hmm.
prefer the original with 3 because there are some story changes, like order of I think yeah, there's some order of event changes, and some things don't happen in the remake that did in the original. But also in the remake, uh, quick spoilers for anybody that hasn't played it yet and they want to for 3. For original 3, it takes you a bit before you encounter Nemesis. But in 3 remake, you encounter
Mm-hmm.
Nemesis like right away. He breaks into your apartment and it starts to chase. It's like, oh fuck, you don't
Yeah.
expect it. It's like
Mm-hmm.
Jesus. It's like
Yeah.
I understand the philosophy of wanting to like do things completely differently for a remake, so that way you can catch players off guard for the second time. I get it, but I also understand how people might just want a straight remake. It's just like give me the same game, but in better graphics. I understand that. I get it. There's that
Right.
debate exists for the Final Fantasy VII remake as well.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's true. Yeah. There's a number of things that have changed
Yeah, yeah.
significantly. So. Mm-hmm.
All right, so we've shown off a few things. But let's go ahead and get into our moveset makeover for Byleth, a character who we have
Shit on.
not been kind to when it comes to this
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, we don't dislike Byleth the character strictly or Three Houses, but we definitely think they could have been represented in Smash better. I know for me, I
Mm-hmm.
especially do not like that they just took the 3 heroes relics from the main lords and just shoved them onto Byleth. It's like, okay, I'm sorry. But in the paralogs for the game, when you're helping out the other characters, then you get, like, say, Ingrid's hero's relic, the Lewin. Yeah, she gives it to you. She's like, I trust you to hold on to the professor and know how to best use it. But the 3 Lord Heroes relics, they don't do that. So it never sat right with me that Byleth has them. And it also means that, like, oh,
Yeah.
well, they can't ever be playable. I mean, granted, Smash wouldn't have added them if they added Byleth, because why would you necessarily do both? But it still never sat right with me. So I always kind of, like, poo-pooed it. I'm not strictly
Mm-hmm.
against the attacks themselves, even if I think, yeah. But I was never happy with the representation for Byleth. What about you?
I concur. You have, I'm making the count here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 13 other relics you can choose from,
Does
as
that
well
count
as a
the
couple
Ashen
of
Wolves
like,
relic?
yeah,
Okay.
yes. Looking at it here, um,
And then
per
there's
the Fire Emblem Wiki anyway.
yeah, there's
Yeah.
13 relics. There's several other sacred weapons too, and there's just like the different
Mm-hmm.
all the other weapons that you can just do. I mean, granted, they have bow, sword, axe, lance, but gauntlets,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
magic.
My issue with it too is that the it really feels like Byleth was tacked on. It feels like, there's long been speculation that the Three Houses DLC was an afterthought per like a Monster Hunter character
Yeah,
not being able to come to fruition, and then just throwing the moveset idea onto Byleth, or Nintendo wanting. It was very obvious at the very least that Sakurai himself was not fond of Nintendo forcing it on him.
yeah. Sakurai,
Um,
he
yeah.
definitely did not. I don't know. It's hard to say like how far. It's hard to word it exactly, but it's definitely clear that if
Mm-hmm.
Sakurai had control over who was getting the DLC for Ultimate, Byleth was like, and I mean full control, full control. Byleth would
Mm-hmm.
not have been on the list, and I don't think it's because he doesn't like Byleth, but because Sakurai, you've noticed like there's a lot of Fire Emblem here, and what maybe he wanted to put in a different character from Fire Emblem, I don't know, over Byleth, but Byleth was not somebody that Sakurai, strictly speaking, would have put in himself if he had that choice.
Correct.
I I know there was a theory, as you mentioned, about how Monster Hunter was supposed to be a character, but details fell through. But they used those notes from Monster Hunter. It basically took and used them as inspiration for creating Byleth. There were insiders saying this. I don't know like the legitimacy of their claims, but that's what was being thrown around at the time. I would believe it
Mm-hmm.
because if there was a character that just like you had to scrap, you wouldn't like completely get rid of all everything you wrote down for. You'd keep those notes somewhere. And if you had another character pop up that you weren't quite sure what to do with, but these notes would fit them, like, well, okay, done deal. We've done it before with some
Mm-hmm.
of our movesets where like a final smash or something didn't end up getting picked in one of these episodes, but then we used it for a different character that we were doing.
Mm-hmm. That's going to come up a couple times, the characters that I have planned too
Yeah,
for
it already
this
has.
year. That'll be fun. Yeah, true.
All
Yeah, and I yeah, that I think that's covers kind of the whole of it though. It felt strange to include, and it was just, I mean, this has nothing to do with the moveset, but moveset aside, uh, just the nature of promoting Fire Emblem incessantly through DLC,
yeah,
through Roy and Melee, it's gotten a bit dull even with people who love Fire Emblem
yeah.
like me.
I mean,
It's
at
like
least it's not a
we
fifth
need,
Marth.
yeah. At least it's not a fifth Marth, but when you kind of butcher the presentation as much as, in our opinion, it they did with Byleth,
Yeah,
it's kind of like either way. That's why it's probably the longest running tangent that we've gone on this podcast.
yeah.
In a podcast that's full of long running tangents, Chucky
Like
Fister.
I understand, like DLC, they want the character, they want to put in character that will sell, that they can also use to advertise things. But 3 out of 8 Fire Emblem characters have been used to advertise Fire Emblem, when that hasn't been the
Mm-hmm.
case for any other real Nintendo characters. Maybe to a degree, Min, I guess, but Arms was already kind of it had been out for a long while by then. And you could
We
say
had seen it as
Pyramithra,
dead
but Pyramithra would have been
complete.
put in
Yeah.
if there had been time for base game. But
Mm-hmm.
Roy was added to Melee before his game even released. And then Corrin was
Mm-hmm.
clearly to advertise Fates. While it had been released in Japan, it hadn't yet released yet in America. And then Byleth, again, yeah, sure, Three Houses had been out by then, but it was absolutely Nintendo trying to advertise Three Houses even more. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. How would you feel if tomorrow they're like, "Oh, there's a new Smash Ultimate character coming out"? After all, it's Shez.
No! I knew you were going to say Shez, and no. No. Fuck off. Jesus. Let's just get into the moveset before we get too fired
Okay.
up. Okay,
God,
so first off,
already?
do what?
I know, right? And then just cancel the episode.
So I'll say that like at the top of things for me, a lot of the animations from Ultimate for Byleth, I decided to just keep because I thought they were fine. But this is because when I got to the moveset, I kind of did double work and I made two full movesets for Byleth. So we'll
I
just see
wondered,
how
yeah.
this ends up going today. It might be a mess. But entrance animation, I just kept it the same. Byleth warps onto the stage with warp magic, poses briefly with like a little pointer stick because I didn't even notice they had one until I was watching the animation slowed down and zoomed in. But he has a little. They have a little pointer stick, and they just points it on their where the fuck did it read it? Well, against their palm, and they pull the sword of the creator and rest it against their shoulder, and then they fight. It's like fuck it, sure, that's fine. I kept it the same.
I never realized it was a pointer stick until I looked it up on the wiki today,
Yeah.
like the day of recording. I was like, "What?"
Yep.
Which does kind of lean into my entrance, which is different.
Oh.
Uh,
Okay.
although we may not go with it, I kind of stabbed in the dark with it because of the pointer stick referencing their teaching credential at Garrick Monastery. Um, so yeah, Byleth is a teacher, and they also take part in classes themselves.
Sure.
One of the classes that Byleth takes part in throughout the academy phase of Three Houses is flying on a Pegasus or a Wyvern. So
Sure.
Byleth flies in on a Pegasus or a Wyvern since he's proficient in flying on both, and then spins the Sword of the Creator around and is ready for battle.
I feel like
I
I
don't know.
would save that for a character that actually uses a Pegasus or a Wyvern. Like if we did a
Mm-hmm.
moveset for
Mm-hmm.
Camilla, then that would make a lot of sense.
Mm-hmm.
She would ride in
Mm-hmm.
on her Wyvern. Uh, what you
Even
were
R.
saying there did kind of give me an idea to like keep something similar to the current entrance
Mm-hmm.
animation, but like maybe like twist it up a little bit to play harder on the professor angle. So instead of warping
Mm-hmm.
in, Byleth is already there, and there's a big old chalkboard behind Byleth, and on it is written like a bunch of small little details. Like you have like a little graphic of like an axe beating a lance, beating a sword, beating an axe, and like little other things like maybe some like uh, glyphs or whatever for magic spells, or like a little drawing of a wyvern or something. You could have like a little fun note, some like, haha, Sylvain was here or whatever, because Sylvain would do that. Let's be real. Sylvain would absolutely do
I'm
that.
Ferdinand
And
von
just like a
Eyre.
whole bunch of like little notes. Yeah. Yeah, just like a whole bunch of like tiny little Easter eggs on that. And Bob's kind of just like
Mm-hmm.
taps it once or twice with their pointer before the blackboard curls up, disappears, and then Violet pulls out the sword of the creator and gets ready to fight. I think that'd be a fun, actually, different interest
That
animation.
is a fun one. That is a fun one, and yeah, I didn't expect mine to even make the cut because I thought the warp was better, even if it happens pretty often with a current character base.
Yeah.
Um,
I wanted to avoid the
but yeah,
warp,
the
which
the
is why
point
I'm glad I just came up with this idea.
that's a good idea. And it could even include the little Easter egg of how the triangle system does not exist in Three Houses. So there you go.
Does it? That's right, it
Yeah,
doesn't. I forgot
doesn't.
about that detail.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Huh. I mean, I
You
feel
can
like
still
it's
include it
it's
though.
it's there like to a degree, but not like to the
Mm-hmm.
extent that it has been in the majority of the series.
Yeah.
Like you'll still do
Right.
better with certain weapons against certain people. I think it might be more like unit based, maybe. I'm not sure, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Then for the
Okay, well let's go with that one.
yeah, let's do
Yeah.
it. Blackboard. The Kirby hats. Something I actually don't like that Smash Ultimate does with the Kirby hats. Maybe we should change this as we go through like the Smashtopia week. I can go ahead and like re-looking at some things that when you have a character like Byleth or like the Wii Fit trainer or Inkling, Villager, any of these that kind of like will change their appearance or like between like a male or female version or something, the Kirby hat is just whatever the default character is. So in this case, it'll just be like the male version of Byleth's hair. It would be on top of Kirby's head. But I would kind of like it if we changed this up for both Byleth and then for like other characters across Smash. Be like, okay, a character like this, Kirby gets the Kirby hat appearance for whatever was the character that they were playing as. So if you're playing as female Byleth, you get female Byleth's hair.
Agreed. That's cool.
Alright. But if there was like just like a hair color change, that wouldn't change. Just like if it's like a character model change essentially.
Mm-hmm. All right.
Alright. Let's get into the taunts then. So I'll say right away that like my three taunts are all just the same as they are in Smash. They're the exact
Okay.
same. So if you'd like, I'll go ahead and just like say what all three of mine are first, and then you can go into what your three were, since yours will actually be different. I'm assuming.
They will, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah,
So
go ahead. Go ahead.
all right. So for the first taunt, the first one is a little bit different based on which Byleth you are. The male version of Byleth will swing Sword of the Creator across him, and then will like swing it across him and then towards his right leg as he holds his left fist up to his chest and looks up into the sky. The female version of Byleth, however, will instead move her left leg back behind her right and swing the Sword of the Creator behind her back as she holds it in a reverse grip as she places her palm against her chest. That's their current up taunt. Their down taunt in Smash has Byleth swing the Sword of the Creator out into its whip form as it spirals in front of them and then says, "Try me." And then Byleth's side taunt has Byleth brandish the Sword of the Creator forwards as the tip shines, and as this occurs, Byleth will say one of two quotes. This part I actually think I changed up a little bit. But for this one, both quotes can be said by either version of Byleth, but male Byleth has a greater chance to say, "Let the lesson begin," while the female version of Byleth has a greater chance to say, "Stay focused." So that's the three taunts that I took from Ultimate. I tweaked the last just a little bit, but what are your three?
My three. The up taunt. Byleth lifts their hand into the air. The crest of flames flashing in a burst of flames for a brief moment within the grip of their hand
Mm-hmm.
before disappearing. Done.
Okay.
The down taunt. Down taunt is Byleth is studiously poring over a book, and one hand is scratching his chin between swapping pages. Done. Uh, the side taunt. Byleth observes the last weapon that they had used, letting it shine in the sun. So in the Sword of the Creator's case, it's the animation of spinning it around in the whip form. But I'm also using a couple of other heroes relics in this moveset, and I don't know if you want me to mention them now or save them a little for later because they're incorporated in the moveset.
I'm using some
So
different
whichever.
heroes relics as well. So basically, just if you don't want to like spoil which ones you use, just be like axe, lance,
Mm-hmm.
or if it's
Mm-hmm.
specific to each one, then
Okay.
do what you got to do.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Um, there's an axe. There's a lance. That's true. Nice work on that one. Um, and I didn't really fully explain that there, so I'll save it for later. And there's one little one I'd like to say for when I mention his up special. So
Okay.
yep.
All
Oh,
right.
that's them. Those are the
Okay.
taunts.
Victory poses then. My first victory pose is tweaked from the official Smash, but my other two are new. But
Mm-hmm.
are your victory poses all new?
Yeah.
Okay, then we'll do our usual back and forth for the victory poses then.
Okay.
So my first one, which is one that I basically just tweak, the camera will be focused on the ground to start out with, as the Sword of the Creator is seen being plunged into the ground before it pans up to see Byleth taking a couple steps forward. And the camera will zoom out even more to reveal that there are other heroes' relics embedded in the ground next to Byleth. These hero relics change based on which version of Byleth you are playing as. So for male Byleth, you will see the Lance of Ruin, the Crusher, and Thyrsus. And then for female Byleth, you will see the Blood Gang, Lewin, and Frykugel.
Nice. Okay, so for mine, we have what is the name of that big fish? Okay, so for my first taunt, Byleth sits down at a nice little table and lightly smiles before taking a sip of tea.
you mentioned a fish, and so I was expecting a fishing one, and then you talked about tea. It's like, wait, what? Okay.
You
Uh,
say because I think that I have two different fish-related Three Houses submissions on Smashtopia.
Fodland fish. Yep, and flame.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, like,
Mm-hmm.
I'd like that one. I'm assuming it's also pretty much zoomed in the exact way that it is when you do tea time in Three Houses.
Oh yeah.
Except it's with, like,
Oh
the
yeah.
player is having tea time with Byleth instead of Byleth having tea time
Mm-hmm.
with whoever, like, whoever you chose. I like that. That's cool.
Right.
For my second one, uh, because one of the ones that Byleth has in Smash is it's a taunt, or not a taunt. The victor's pose is basically the victory animation with us when Byleth uses a sword. So I decided to basically do that with the lance and the axe instead of the sword. So for the second one, male Byleth will hold up either the Lance of Ruin or the Lewin Lance and spin it around above his head before slashing it down across them towards the ground, similar to the Lance victory animation. Meanwhile, female Byleth will do similar with either Crusher or Freikugel and swing her axe above her head a couple times before bringing it chopping down in front of her. Both Byleths will then accompany this motion with the quote, "Allow me to demonstrate."
Okay. My second victory pose. Byleth is using their fishing rod and has it just in fishing position and suddenly catches a Fodland fish. They reel it in with a look of shock and hold it towards the camera. Just very just slight smile. They're pleased. It could even be the big one, the Fodland fish. There's a number of them. There's the small fish, the herring, the whitefish, the um, large herring, the bourgeois pike,
Okay,
as well as
okay,
the big one.
okay,
And they
okay,
can all appear. They can all
okay,
appear. If the big one is here,
okay.
it's a different
No.
animation.
Moving on.
It splashes everywhere.
Moving on. I'm not fast tracking that one. I'll fast track the tea time. I'm not fast tracking that one. For my final victory pose, again, this is going to be different depending on which version of Byleth you just played as. But male Byleth will start out by saying the
Hmm.
quote, "No hesitation," as they wear the Vajra Mushti Heroes Relic gauntlets, and they will punch twice
Oh, nice.
forwards before slamming one of the gauntlets down into the ground. Meanwhile,
Oh,
female
cool.
Byleth will utter the exact same quote before brandishing the Thyrsis staff with magical energy coming off of it in waves, while also wearing the Aegis shield on their arm. I'm trying to represent as many
Very
different things as I can with the
cool. Hmm.
weaponry.
Yeah, that
So what
was
was your
neat. I
last
did
one?
not expect.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Byleth is seen in front of a chalkboard. So it's funny you mentioned that in the entrance now. With their pointer stick. So they're pointing judgingly at the chalkboard as it's thrown across, written on it, how to win Smash. While
Smash
judging
101.
yeah, Smash 101, there you go, or something like that. While judging those he's won against. Or that they've won against rather.
I like to imagine also
So
the hard tap against weapon is also a way to say, Linhart, wake up.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Go.
All right,
There
so
you
let's
go.
pick some things out here. Obviously, tea time's being fast tracked because that's just good. I
Yeah.
like it. Tea time's got to
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Beyond that, at least for the taunt, it's a lot of it is the question of how much do we want to keep the same and how much do we just want to replace with the taunts.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Victory poses wise, I feel like we don't need two
They're both
chalkboards.
very different approaches.
Yeah, very.
Right.
Like I don't feel like I don't. I
Mm-hmm.
think the chalkboard one we kill because we've already got it as the entrance.
Sure. Okay. Fair.
If okay,
I'm gonna
so
look
with
at
that
yeah.
said, we have to keep at least one of my victory poses because that one is out. Which one of mine do you like the best? Because mine, all three of mine are basically just like trying to show off as many different weapons as possible.
Right.
Do you like the weapons in the
Right.
ground? Do you like them to use axe slash lance, or do you like them to use gauntlet slash staff?
I thought the gauntlet and staff was really interesting. At the same time, I wonder if they don't make it into the moveset, do we want to use them in the victory pose, or do we want to use one of the weapons, assuming that some of them do appear in your moveset? Do we want to use one of those poses instead?
Everything that I have mentioned so far, weapon-wise, is in at least one of my moves.
Okay. Okay. Interesting.
That's
I would
actually that's
say.
not true. That's not true. The Aegis Shield does not appear.
Mhm.
But
Okay.
it would not be the
I would.
first time a character has brandished some kind of weapon that they don't actually use as an attack. Ganondorf.
Yeah.
So I
Good
don't
point.
think that part strictly matters for this.
Okay, so there's gauntlets and staff, then there's what? Weapons on the ground and
then Axe Lance.
okay. Shoot. I think I'm partial towards gauntlets and staff just because I was so thrown by it. I was like, these are here? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But weapons on the ground is a really cool animation as well though, and one that, it's exemplified in Smash for a reason too.
Yeah. And the version in Smash is
Mm-hmm.
it's the exact same, except it uses the Heroes Relics for Dimitri, Claude, and Edelgard. So I
Mm-hmm.
just changed the
Mm-hmm.
relics.
Yeah. Is there one that you're partial towards as well? Or
Actually, I am kind of thinking I might like that one better. Just like as like if I could only have one, I would slot in that one because that one represents each kind of weapon except the gauntlets. The gauntlets are the only ones that aren't in that.
right. Right. Okay.
Oh, okay. And with that being the case, I think if we do go with that one, I will change it slightly. Well, because both of them have a lance and a axe. So I what I
Right.
could do because Byleth male has lance axe staff, female has sword lance axe. So I could give
Mm-hmm.
them. I could change it so that one of them, instead of them both having a lance and an axe, one of them could have like the Aegis shield, and the other one could have a pair of gauntlets. A bow still isn't represented because there are no bow heroes relics besides Claude's. And I was
Mm-hmm.
very specifically staying away from Claude, Edelgard, and Dimitri's weapons. But I think that's probably the one
Right.
I
A
would
bow
pick
doesn't
out of
appear in my
those three
team set.
purely
Yeah.
because of that. And I would just change the weapon
Yeah.
slightly to include the gauntlet and the shield.
Okay. Well, that leaves well, it leaves a couple things technically, but if we include all the weapons in your victory pose, and that's a very cool way to represent it. Hear me out.
Mm-hmm.
Odlin fish.
I was actually going to
They're
mention
there.
that because of the fact that
Mm-hmm.
we wouldn't be using both of my other two victory animation weapon based ones. I feel like it'd be weird to pick one
Mm-hmm.
over the other. So probably fish and
Mm-hmm.
tea time, I think.
I concur, and it is for those reasons as well as giving Odlin fish even one more submission on the site. That would be the fourth, actually. There's Eloise Flane, who are both fish-based assist trophies, and the Fodlan fish item.
No more.
Okay.
No more. No more.
And
Unless
now that
it's a
it's crossed
set
over into the
spirit battle.
podcast,
In that case, I would allow that.
yeah.
Alright, let's figure out the taunts then. So I've got my three, as they are already, smash taunts. Remind me what
Mm-hmm.
yours were again. I know you had one where they
Sure.
were flipping through the pages of a book.
Mm-hmm.
One I think they had like they were channeling
And
some magic.
yeah, one where they're kind of lifting their arm in the air and the crest of flames appears for a second.
That's right. That's what it was. I like that one.
Mm-hmm. And then the other one was just them observing a weapon and kind of, which I feel is the same as the whip animation.
Yeah, it really is.
So just the whip animation, but they may use other weapons as well. Like maybe the weapon that they last used is the weapon used in the taunt. That was the general idea there. Yeah. So that's that. We have the smash taunts, all of which are pretty good, and I like how they're differentiated between male and female violence. And then there's my three: the Crest of Flames, the book, and just okay, basically my two: the Crest of Flames and the book.
I say because really all of
Mm-hmm.
Byleth and Ultimates are about like swinging the Sword of the Creator in some fashion. I say let's just go with all of
Mm-hmm.
your three for this.
No, okay.
Because like
Yeah, I
your
mean,
one with like looking
one
at the
is
weapons
yeah.
is from what it sounds like it's basically the side special, the side taunt, just with different weaponry. So I say we just go with that. Like that would be the new side smash or side fuck it side taunt. Flipping through the book would be the down, and then the Crest of the Crater or Crest of Flames would be the up.
Yeah.
I think that works.
Okay, I can live with that.
Cool.
Cool.
I'll
Mm.
mark that down for me. All
Yes,
right,
sir.
that brings us to the actual move set, where it's gonna
Oh
get
God,
funky for this one, guys. Because, like I said, I created two move sets for Byleth.
it's
I
like
did
having a
not.
guest, but the guest is you.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't go in like I didn't write down like the full like paragraph of details that I usually do because like at least bar minimum half of these are gonna not be used. So why would I put my throats through that much pain? So
When I heard that you were doing two move sets, I also did not approach this with like because when I write these down, usually I write them up so that way if we do choose my moves or my taunts or whatever,
you can just
I
send
could
the
just
notes to
send it
me.
to you
Yeah.
immediately, and then you can import it straight to the wiki because it's written like a wiki piece. But this time, there's some times where I get overly long in my notes, but they're notes, and it's very evident that they're notes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So considering this, let's go ahead and have you start off with your moves for the move set, and then I'll go into both of mine. Both of mine have like at least for the special moves, it at least for the special moves, like I have like specific themes for both the move sets. So let's see
Okay.
what you did first with your standard special.
Got it. Okay, so as a quick preface to this move set, I wanted to approach it from a similar place you listed your complaints at the start of the episode of Byleth using the hero's relics that belong to Edelgard, Dimitri, and Claude. That does not happen here, which means that we shuck a bow. A bow is not in the move set. Fortunately or unfortunately, it doesn't really affect me too much. They do use the Sword of the Creator, um, as well as a couple of other heroes relics, and there's a couple of other. Just I want it to be different, so the final Smash is different than Smash, even though it doesn't necessarily have to be. The Up special is very different from Smash because grapples can go to hell, and we'll just kind of go from there.
All
Okay,
right.
so the standard is the Sword of the Creator, Byleth's heroes relic, someone's spine. Okay, so using the Sword of the Creator, Byleth cleaves forward a short distance. So using our traditional measurement, that's about 3 Kirby's forward. So it's a long-reaching little guy. So they're getting the sword and going with it, just slamming it towards the ground, and that dishes out some decent damage and decent knockback. But the more the move is charged, the further it's called out because the Sword of the Creator is a healthy, long friend. It's reaches longer than the Vampire Killer at full length. So the further it's charged, the longer it spreads out. So you're ultimately driving it forward into the ground like that, smacking it towards the ground. And it goes from 3 Kirby's in length to up to 11 Kirby's in length.
Jesus Christ.
So quite quite a distance, yeah. And the knockback doesn't change significantly. Damage does heighten a little bit. The tip of the whip is a tipper with flame mechanics, and the hilt might meteor smash.
The
There's that.
hilt.
Yes.
Okay.
So be close, my friends. Yeah.
All right.
That's where we're at. There's my standard.
All
Do
right.
I keep going, or are you going to start getting
No,
yours? Or
I'm going to get into my standards now.
okay, okay.
So like I mentioned, I have two completely separate move sets. The first one is based off of Like both of them are based off of combat arts. I don't have the Sword of Creator in here at all because I said fuck that shit. If Simon can use his whip for the smash attacks and such, then Byleth can just do the same thing with the Sword of the Creator. So I
Hmm.
specifically said no Sword of the Creator here. But one moveset is based around like normal combat arts that you get just by like learning the different weapons. Things like Wrath Strike for the sword or Tempest Lance for the lance. That kind of stuff. And they'll use
Oh
like
yeah.
different weapons depending on a factor that I'll get to. The other moveset is actually using very specific heroes' relics, using their specific combat art. So, Ruptured Sky, for example, for the uh, the Spear of Ruin. So for my standard special, and again I tried to incorporate each different weapon as much as I could, but there is, but we'll get to it. So for my standard special, it's curved shot, a combat art for the bows. So Byleth will simply enough he'll take out a bow and he'll fire up a shot that travels up into the air at an arc, and it just follows that arc until it just hits something or just lands into the ground. So for these ones, 75% of the time, Byleth is going to use the Tafthum Bow Sacred Weapon for this. But
Hmm.
25% of the time, Byleth will instead use the Inexhaustible Sacred Weapon. Tafthum Bow being the one for Mercedes' family, and the Inexhaustible you get from Indec and that paralogue. Using the Inexhaustible, it's obviously more damage, more knockback, but also the Inexhaustible will fire 2 arrows with one input. So it'll fire one arrow and then the other right after each other.
Nice.
My other standard special, using specific combat arts for the different heroes' relics. For this one, Byleth will take out Marianne's Blood Gang Sacred Weapon. Actually, no, whoops, that's the wrong thing. That comes later. Ha! This is Eviscerate, actually, where Byleth will take out Balthus's Vajra Mushti, or how the fuck am I supposed to say that? Gauntlet Hero's Relic, with just one punch, or with one tap, it's just like a single punch, but you can charge it up to do 2 quick punches and then a claw, and then 2 claw swipes as well. Or maybe I should change that to one claw swipe. Yeah, I'll just change it to one claw swipe. 2 punches and a claw swipe. The swipe does more damage, and it will inflict a damage over time effect. So basically, like a kind of bleeding status effect where you take some small damage as time
Hmm.
goes on for the next few seconds.
Cool.
So that's Curve
Nice.
Shot and Eviscerate. There is no Hero's Relic
Hmm.
for the bow, so I just kind of went with Eviscerate to be like the standard for the second
Sacred
moveset.
weapons.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Nice.
you'll see that like
That was a good idea to go
for
for
all of my
sacred weapons.
specials on the first
Yeah.
moveset, there's going to be a weaker version and then a stronger version, and it's just 25% chance of time you get the stronger version.
Hmm.
Trying to show
Okay.
off as
Neat.
many weapons as I
Very
can.
neat. That. Yeah. Okay. Good on you. Good idea. My side special is the Lance of Ruin, which you just mentioned not too long ago. So this is based on a not a combat art, but a skill anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's centered around an Astra-esque type of move.
Okay.
So using the Lance of Ruin, Byleth jabs forward. So on its own, this is a straightforward jab that can be angled upwards or downwards diagonally. That's pretty much it. But if you could charge it up, it can deliver up to 4 more jabs, each one slightly stronger than the last. So you can tilt up and down throughout. So you can kind of create different separate combos, similarly to Marth's sword dance in a way. But you're not dancing. You're kind of just
You're just tilting where the lance
pacing
points.
forward a little bit. Right, right. You're just kind of ineloquently jabbing forward. And Astra can activate when you use this attack. So this could potentially lower an opponent's defenses and rack up their damage even further and this has roughly a 25% chance of happening, and can lower the defenses between 1.2 times and 1.5 times their standard defense rate, for up to 10 seconds. And if this happens, it'll be fairly evident. They'll have a little light red glow around their body, and there'll be a little red arrow cursor floating above their head or shoulder. And that's that.
So, funnily enough, Lindis, that we made previously, has
Hmm.
Astra as her side special.
Oh, nice. I
It,
totally
it,
forgot that.
it looks a little bit differently.
Hmm.
It's more similar to Ike's Quick Draw. but it's
Oh,
also
right.
it's quick draw, but like multi hits going through it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you were saying that I was
Okay.
like, I'm
Okay.
pretty
Interesting.
sure I've seen this before.
Wasn't my move.
It was either you or Eric because I actually could have been mine. I think, but I don't remember. Lynn was a while back, and I don't keep the notes
It
of
was.
what we did once we put on the wiki. Then I only have the new notes. I don't keep the old notes around.
Mhm. Right.
For my side special
Right.
though, on the first move set we have Fading Blow, which is a combat art for the gauntlets. And for the most part for these ones, I tried to do a hero's relic for the strong weapon and then a sacred weapon for the weaker version. Obviously, with the bows, I couldn't do that. They're both sacred weapons because there is no hero's relic besides claws. And then similarly for the gauntlets, there's a hero's relic but no sacred weapons. So in that case, for the weaker version of it, Byleth's going to be wearing the dragon claws because they're pretty much like the strongest basic claw weapon. Meanwhile, the stronger version is the Vajramushti. But for the normal version of this attack, Byleth will rush forward and just do a one punch with the gauntlets. The distance travel will depend on the charge, so it's quick draw in that sense. But then after the punch, assuming a punch connects, Byleth will then be pushed backwards some distance roughly proportional to the distance that Byleth dashed forwards. They won't be like, oh, if they dashed forward this much, then they'll also be pushed back that much. No, it's not, it doesn't work like that. It's just if they dash this much, then maybe they'll push back this much. But if they dash less than that, then they'll be pushed back less. That's really all that's supposed to mean. For the stronger version
Okay.
of this, the opponent that gets hit by the attack will also then be left in a crumple state. So with the
Oh,
Vajramushti,
nice.
you can crumple them and then you get dashed backwards. So you can strategize from there what you want to do. For the specific Hero's Relic moveset, I have Beast Fang. Here's where Byleth pulls out the Blood Gang, that Marianne sword. So for this attack, Byleth is going to essentially drag the blade of Blood Gang against the ground and then swing the blade up for the attack.
Nice.
And it kind of goes up in a arc that like hits fully in front of them, but also a little bit above them, kind of like a small anti-air. This will Beast Fang has the additional little property of doing more damage to bestial like opponents. So Bowser, Ridley, King K. Rool, Spyro the Dragon, Polar Bear, things like that. Beast Fang will do more damage to.
Right. Okay.
Rathalos.
Pretty neat. Yeah, that'll be it. There's a hack.
Yep.
Having that little that's a cool, that's a unique arc rather for the sword. So that's neat. Okay. My up special then is this is maybe where things get slightly more interesting because this is not a sacred weapon or a hero's relic for me. It's based on a line. Byleth is seen in the epilogue of Three Houses as the wings of Hegemon.
Ah.
The subspecial is called the wings of Hegemon. So Byleth is carried up into the air by just glowing wings that look similarly to the crest of flames. They're not attached to them, but they're behind them, and they arc upwards with him. So similar to Corrin's up special, maybe there's a little bit of a light startup lag, but it travels more lively and further up. So maybe slightly further than Marth's Dolphin Slash. So you can arc it a little to the left, a little to the right, like Marth's as well. The wings deal persistent damage. I have it listed as flame damage since it's the crest of flames. I think it makes sense.
Makes sense.
Maybe, yeah, and but given its darker properties, so you see it being shadow damage as well. But either which way, there's the move.
Okay. I find it interesting that it's the wings of Hegemon, but it's like a light, quote unquote, light element kind
Mm-hmm.
of a deal with the Crest of Flames.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, in Three Houses, Hegemon Edelgard is like the corrupted version of Edelgard that you fight in Blue Lion's route. And she just looks like
Yeah,
this monstrous form. It's
yeah,
like, that's Hegemon. And it's like, Wings of Hegemon. It's like, oh, Crest of Flames. And it's like, wait.
yeah.
Like when you said Wings of Hegemon, I was expecting Edelgard's corrupted like wings to sprout out of Byleth's back. It's like, and you said Crest of Flames. Like, what? Mental disconnect here.
Yeah,
Was not expecting that.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
It's bizarre. It's bizarre. The there are some little dualities in Fire Emblem that don't make much sense. So
Yeah,
there's
me
one of
either.
them.
How about that?
Yeah.
So thus far with my standard, my side, both different movesets use a different kind of weapon. That changes from here on.
Hmm.
Well, at least for the up and the
Okay.
downs. So for the up special, both these are going to be using lances. For the generic combat art movesets, it's Tempest Lance. So for this one, Byleth is going to spin about himself several times, kind of hero spin style for Link, using the lance. He spins around himself twice normally, just like hits anybody around him those 2 times. If the input is repeatedly tapped, Byleth will spin around himself even more and will rise up into the air. So, it's just a simple move like that. 75% of the time, Byleth will use the Spear of Assault, sacred weapon, which is Seth's weapon. Meanwhile, 25% of the time, he will instead use the Lance of Ruin, Sylvain's weapon, which is, of course, stronger. Additionally, the Lance of Ruin will bring about a wind box, which will draw in nearby opponents and trap them in the attack until it ends. For the specific
Nice.
combat art moveset, it's going to be Ruin Sky, which is, again, the combat art for the Lance of Ruin. So for this one, it's going to be more of an uppercut type of animation using a lance, which is a little odd visually, but they could make it work. We don't have to.
Hmm.
So it's an uppercut with the lance. It will deal multiple small hits of damage and will drag opponents up into the air. Originally, that's where it ended, but then I decided, you know what, that sounds kind of lame, so I'm going to add a little bit more to it. So I decided to add on to that while Byleth is going up into the air and up until the move technically ends, he can press the special input again to then plummet down at a diagonal angle, and if there's any opponents that were stuck in the attack, they continue getting dragged down into the attack as Byleth plunges straight down into the stage and goes back down.
Nice. Brutal. Okay.
I mean, it's a Spear of
Moving
Ruin and
ahead.
has a lot of
That, you
jaggedy
know,
pieces to it, so.
yeah, it does. It's a neat looking weapon. Um, down special is Crusher. So Byleth uses the Crusher. Quite a name for a ancient weapon, by the way.
An
So
axe.
yeah, right.
It's a hammer!
Hmm. Yeah, I love it. I love that megaton axe that Link uses in Wind Waker. Okay, so Byleth uses the Crusher, slamming it down. So, there's a little bit of input lag, and there's a bunch of super armor frames throughout. So there's never a question of whether Byleth is going to execute the move. It's a question of whether foes are too stupid or preoccupied to not telegraph it ahead of time and evade it. So this really garners a lot of similarities to Byleth's actual down special in Smash using Amir, which is rather similar. But Amir uses base damage, and it's but it's similarly devastating if you get hit by it. If Crusher slams it to the ground, most of the time it will. It'll be in an explosion of rock, so there's potential shrapnel that can fly out and a good distance and add extra damage on. That's essentially it. Good shield breaking move. Good kill move.
So,
Yep.
my now special is obviously using axes.
Mm-hmm.
So the generic combat art one is gonna be Helm Splitter, and I've made all the generic combat arts for ones are ones that Byleth can actually learn in here in Three Houses.
Yeah.
By the way, just to mention. So for
Mm-hmm.
Helm Splitter, Byleth will take an axe out, hold it above their head before springing it down in front of them with a heavy swing. It's heavily telegraphed, just like your Crusher, just like Aimer and Ultimate. Very similar move. The attack does heavy damage to shields and can break. It can even break some counters. Not all, but some. 75% of the time, Byleth will use the axe of Ukanvasara. I'm not sure whose sacred weapon that's supposed to be. It might be Aloise's, honestly. I feel like it just makes sense that it could be his. But then 25% of the time, Byleth will use Crusher. And in this case, the Crusher will also inflict the Bury effect on any opponent that it hits. Now, for the specific
Mm-hmm.
combat art, the Hero's Relic combat art moveset, Byleth is going to be using Crusher, using the Dust combat art. So again, it's
Nice.
borderline the same animation. Axe above the head, swings it down in a telegraph manner, deals heavy damage to shields, and kicks, but it will also kick up a damaging dust. Not really not quite like rocks, but like seriously dust, like small little dust.
Mm-hmm.
It kicks it up high up into the air. Instead of like kind of going forward, it goes high up in the air. These dust particles will deal minor damage and no knockback, but they are mini, so it can add up. If I was to add an element to this,
Right.
I would say earth element because fuck it, why not? It's dust.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It is Aloysius, by the way. What a
Okay,
guy.
makes
You
sense.
just love him.
There's a few of them that's
Yeah.
like I don't know who this is supposed to go to, but like who else besides Edelgard and Hilda use axes in Three Houses?
Mm-hmm.
Alois. Oh,
Aloysius. Yep.
and he's really the only one. I think Sedith might have like they're like his secondary weapon, but
Mm-hmm. One of the best characters in Final history. Like,
Sedith,
he likes
yes,
fish, you know.
yes, he
Yeah.
does. He likes to go fishing.
Sedith, I think Sedith does like to go fishing, and he even eats them in both forms.
Yes.
Final Smash. Looking at my notes here, it's a little janky, so this might be fun. Final Smash. I like Byleth's Final Smash in Ultimate. It's a little weird having Sothis's
JPEG.
2D animation just up here. Yeah,
So this
that was part of the
JPEG.
one where it felt tacked on. Yeah, but generally speaking, it works. It's formation attack.
Okay.
So Byleth calls forth their army, shouting, "It's now or never," and suddenly dashes forward and slashes the sword of the creator outwards. And again, this goes pretty far. It's roughly as far as Vampire Killer can go at full stretch. And if anyone who connects with it is taken into a CGI, where again, Byleth is seen in front of the gates of Garrybach Monastery, holds their hands out into the air and signals for an attack, so their army follows. And you just get the actual army is comprised of cameos from Three Houses,
A battalion,
dependent
essentially.
on Black Eagle, yeah, battalion, Black Eagles, Blue Lions, Golden Deer, Ashen Wolves. Um, Only rule really being that if the Black Eagles character appears, they're all Black Eagles characters. Just seemed kind of natural. So you hit some archetypes here. You see a mage dishing out a powerful magic attack and shooting it towards the opponents, an archer knocking their bow and shooting it towards the opponents, a cavalier, a Pegasus knight or Wyvern knight, a fighter or a knight dashing forward to attack, and you see these animations build up. And then ultimately, let me read it here. You'll see them all build up and then just collectively attack the opponent. Then Byleth jumps in with a final blow, using again in this case the sword of the. I feel like the sword of the creator works here because it's the trademark weapon.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just one fiery slam forward from Byleth, and it's the end of the CGI. I want to avoid CGI where I can. I wouldn't be surprised if yours avoids CGI. In this case,
of mine
this was just
have
avoiding.
CGI.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. I wanted to do formation attack. I didn't know if there was a way that wasn't CGI to do it.
I
So
had considered
Mhm.
something similar to that at one point, and again, I was gonna have to be like, there's different versions of it based on what house, and it'll just randomly choose a house.
Mhm.
And they would also add in like some of the other units from the game, like the Black Eagles version might add in Alois and Shamir, while the Golden Deer version might add
Right.
in Sedith and Flame, or the Blue Lions version would bring in Shamir. Oh, and I think I just said Shamir. It'd bring like Catherine and Cyril, and then the Ashen Wolves be
Mhm.
somewhere spread out. I don't know. I guess Blue Lions would also have Gilbert, which hate Gilbert. But for my versions, again, I have two Final Smash because I figured I did two of the special moves. I might as well just do two of everything. So screw it. My first one is called Heroes Relic Onslaught. And this is kind of a mix of Triforce Slash and one of Chris Redfield's ultimates in Marvel's Capcom 3, where he just pulls out a whole bunch of different weaponry and just kind of like runs forward, just like hitting with all the different weapons that he possibly can.
Yeah.
So this is pretty much that where Byleth will use the various heroes' relics, everything except for the three main lords' relics, to make one strike with each as he moves forward on whatever platform he is standing on. Byleth won't go past the end of the platform though, so if it's just like if he started out here and the edge of the platform's here, it's like, well, he'll just move up to that point. He'll just keep doing all of his attacks there. What order he attacks the weapons in, who cares? But it would end with a swipe from the Sword of the Creator before sending opponents flying. The second one, so in Smash, so the combat arts that Byleth gets in Three Houses are Ruptured Heaven and Sublime Heaven. And then Ultimate decided to give him the weaker version for the Final Smash, but they also decided to like give it a Sothis upgrade by calling it Progenitor God Ruptured Heaven. So I decided to take that as the basis for my second Final Smash and call it Progenitor God's Sublime Heaven, since Sublime is the stronger version of it. So with this one,
Nice.
Byleth will just, again, this is not a CGI, but Byleth will just swing this for the creator in whip form with Wild Fury in a large cone-like attack, kind of similar to what Squirtle's Whirlpool attack looks like in Triple Finish. Whereas Ivysaur is shooting out a Solar Beam and Charizard is doing multiple Fire Blasts. Squirtle's just doing like a short-range Whirlpool, so it's kind of like that kind of a cone attack, but it's a much longer cone, dealing out damage. So that's what I have for those.
Nice. Like a more useful version of Bowser Jr.'s Final Smash, in a sense.
I mean, no. It doesn't resemble Bowser Jr.'s at all. Bowser Jr. just like draws an X, and if you touch the X and you're damaged, this is like a cone attack that's constantly happening on the screen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Just like anything in this range.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. They literally draw a cone. Okay.
No.
Okay.
What? No. No.
Oh, Bidoof knows.
Think of it more like how Mario's Mario Finale works, but if the fireball didn't like just like disappear, if it just like stayed in an area, because like it moves in a cone-like pattern. Think of it like that. It just like causes the damage in that area.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. Extra skills then.
Yep.
Divine Pulse. Got to do it. So Byleth calls upon the Progenitor God's power to use this move. Occasionally you can hear one of them say Divine Pulse when it's activated. Byleth is shrouded in a little light green magic like pulsation that embodies them. And it lasts until Byleth hits an opponent. Or within maybe like an 8 to 10 second frame. When Byleth makes contact with the opponent, they heal damage from the most. So it's not like a set damage point. It's so when Byleth attacks say an opponent, say Ganondorf hit Byleth with Warlock Punch, and then Byleth using Divine Pulse punches Ganondorf. Byleth will then heal the amount of damage that Ganondorf dealt them with Warlock Punch, while also dealing 1.2 times the damage towards that opponent. So it's 1.2 times Warlock Punch, plus the initial damage that Byleth would have dealt otherwise. So plus Byleth's jab. I hope that makes sense because it's a little hard to follow.
No, it does. It's a different way to do a counter where it's like you're not countering it at all, really, but it gives you the opportunity to counter posthumously. Right. Here's a question.
Right, and potentially against another opponent, too.
Here's a question. Let's say this is a 4-player Smash. Ganondorf hit you, but you hit Fox after you did the, whatever the fuck it was called. Time Pulse. I can't remember the name, but you know what I mean. Let's say you hit someone besides Ganondorf. Does the same thing happen, or do you need to hit the person that hit you?
Same thing happens.
Okay.
And I don't know if this is too powerful. I had it so that way they can only use it up to 3 times for stock. And you can't just stack it up, so that way you can't just use it one after another. So that option's there, but otherwise that's the move.
It is powerful, but if it's limited to 3 times for stock, I think that's fine.
Okay. That works.
For mine, we have yet to include magic. Let's include some magic. So, for my first extra skill, this is Miasma. Byleth is going to take the Hero's Relic Thyrsus, which belongs to Lawrence's family, and he will cast Miasma, which you might be thinking, wait, I thought everything you have Byleth doing is something that Byleth can actually do. It's like, you're right. Except for this. Byleth does not learn Miasma or any dark magic in Three Houses. But where have we
Like
seen
Robin.
that before? With
Uh-huh.
so many
Yep.
other characters, one including Robin, who can't
Mm-hmm.
use the Dark Tomes. And basically, the explanation is like, well, Tharia taught him. I was like, okay, well, let's Scythia taught Byleth. There you go. So Byleth will swing Thyrsus. Where's Menace? There it is. And it'll just be like, you don't charge this up. It's just a sphere of dark magic will appear and will just start flying forwards kind of sluggishly. It's not too fast, it's relatively slow. But when Miasma hits something, it will leave behind a cloud of poison on
Oh,
top of
nice.
damaging whoever it hits. And so it can hit a character, it can hit a stage element, it can hit a crate item, whatever. It will leave behind poison. Anybody that stays in that poisonous cloud will take constant damage, and then it will linger with them slightly. The second extra skill
Right.
is called Crest of Flames. The Crest of Flames will appear in front of Byleth, like Byleth-sized Crest of Flames here. If the Crest of Flames gets hit by a physical attack, two things will happen. One, Byleth will be healed a small amount of damage. Two, a blast of flames will fire out from the crest in
Right.
in a short range, just ahead of it to hit somebody that tried to hit Byleth. It's like, all right, well, you just took a blast of fire to your face. Here you go.
Nice. So like 2 Kirby's instead of 11.
Yeah,
Right.
that'd be yeah.
Okay.
Two Kirby's or one Bowser, more or less.
Okay. Cool. So we have
Yeah,
3 move sets.
we do. We do. Something I will say about mine, in regards to at least for the normal special moves, with the ones that are based off of just like the generic combat arts, I don't feel unless like there were tweaks made to how they work. I don't think you can take just part of them. I think you'd have to take them all, considering they all have that theme of weak weapon or strong weapon. Unless that aspect was taken out for them, which can be done, but I don't think you can do that aspect for one attack, but not all of them. The other ones
Sure.
I think are
Sure.
more open to being touched on. Like I think some version of Crusher being used is definitely going to be in here because it's on all three movesets. So,
Yep.
and your Crusher and my Dust are very similar.
I actually had a pitch on that one.
Oh, go for it.
Yep. We make it dust, and while including the dust that travels vertically and sprays out, also include a little bit of rock shrapnel, and that's both of our moves to the full extent. Done. Easy. Because I think Helm Splitter is good. It is, and then Dust is Helm Splitter with more to it. So it's
The difference between Helm
that's
Splitter
kind
and
of
Dust is
my
pretty much 25% of the time with Helm Splitter, you'll bury an opponent, and Dust always has the dust
right,
fly up.
right. And I do like the element of the dust. I think that's very unique, and coming across a move that is unique truly in Smash
It's difficult.
now. Mm-hmm. So that I do like dust, and that's the same reason why I liked Miasma when you mentioned it with the Cloud of Poison, and the Crest of Flames as well, because they're unique moves. Although we'll get there when we get there, the extra skill, because I also think mine is pretty unique. Yeah. But yeah, that was my thought there. Initial thoughts too. I think my final smash is weak. We can knock it out easy and just choose between yours. If we do go for Progenitor God Sublime Heaven, which I think has a pretty decent shot of being the one we choose, then we do not need a Sword of the Creator standard. So that kind of makes things easier. Let's see. And then we have Wings of Hegemon, Tempest Lance. Ugh, there's a lot. There's a lot. So what are your initial thoughts?
So, you mentioned the final smash and the extra skill, so I guess I'll start there. For one thing with the extra skill, like, I want magic to be somewhere in this. Magic is not something that Fire Emblem touches on a lot when it comes to Smash movesets. Robin is the only character that does it. Everybody else is just whatever their weapon is, which is fair because they don't use magic in their games. So since Byleth can use magic in any weapon, I really want to use magic somehow with this moveset. Whether that means Miasma is an extra skill or gets moved to one of the other specials, who knows, strictly speaking.
Right.
But I definitely want to have it somewhere.
Right.
Like we
Right. I
can
could
make the
see
room.
miasma. Hmm. Miasma could be an effective standard as well
Mm-hmm.
if it comes to that. Yeah,
Like if I had to choose
I
between the extra
agree.
skills, I easily pick Miasma over Crest of Flames, no doubt. Um, like I think it's fine, but
Agreed.
like I
Agreed.
also don't strictly think we need a counter. Ballot has enough things.
Hmm.
Every
Right.
other Fire Emblem game in Smash has a fucking counter. And technically, Robin doesn't. Technically, and I guess actually, Byleth in Smash doesn't. So that's the one thing Byleth does right, which is sad. It's really
Yep.
sad.
Yep.
But I'm just
Yep.
sick of counters in general. When they can be done
Hmm.
differently, which the Crest of Flames does, and what your Divine Pulse does as well. That's great when they can be done differently. But generally speaking, counters. Good God. Final Smash wise, between the two of them, I prefer Heroes for like Onslaught just because again we're showing a bunch of different weapons. And Progenitor God Sublime Heaven, it's just a sort of creator. I think it's fine. Like we could certainly go for it if you prefer that one over Heroes or like Onslaught. I won't fight it. But if I was choosing, I'm going with the Onslaught just because it's more weapons to show off, and also that's a different motion than what currently any of the Final Smash has. Nothing like we have things that are like the Triforce Slash model. We have like the giant laser model. We have the maximum Greninja model. We don't have one where we're just like running along a line doing multiple hits. That's why I kind of like that one.
Yeah. It's very individualistic for Smashers. Again, is rare, and it's
Mm-hmm.
a little bit funny and pretty cool at the same time.
Yeah.
Hmm.
As far as other moves are concerned, again, I just generally speaking want to represent as many different things as possible. It's kind of a usual thing for me. That's what I like to do a lot. Of mine, well, I think the move that I like the most, just like conceptually, is Beast Fang. But at the
Hmm.
same time, I'm least interested in using a sword based special because Byleth is already Sword the Creator based. So it's kind of weird in that respect. It's like I like that attack probably the most of them. Actually, Ruin Sky might be the one I like the most. But Ruin Sky and Beastfang are both up there for me. But
Right.
the sword part, though, it kind of like hurts me a little inside. It's like I like it, but it's sword. Damn that.
It's a very different sword at the very least, and you're using it in a
Right.
different
Like
way.
it's a different kind of
Hmm.
animation with its swing, and we really don't have any attacks in Smash that deal more damage based on like what your opponent is. I thought about adding more
Hmm.
to that with Byleth, but I thought I was like, okay, we might be going a little too far here. So I just crunched it down into just being Beast Fang.
Hmm.
So I thought about
And
doing
then
one
Ruin
that was like
Sky.
beasts and one that would be
Yeah.
like dragons. So it's like, okay, let's just combine it.
Right. Right. I actually agree that of the side specials, I think mine is fine. It's just not creative enough for the Lance of Ruin. And I wish I just didn't slap it together too quickly. As for Dragon Claws and Bajramushti, I like the idea of using gauntlets for sure, and the blowback mechanic makes it different from Quick Draw.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. But the animation and the unique property of Blood Gang, regardless of being a sword, I think does put it a little, at least now in this discussion, a little above the other side special ideas.
Right.
Hmm. Um, Up special again after hearing yours, I think Tempest Lance. There's a combat art that saved our asses in the initial game
Yeah,
far more
it's
times
a
than
good
not.
one.
It is a good one, and I like the wind box that the Lance of Ruin can summon. Wings of Hegemon, it was a cute idea. Ruined Sky. I agree though. It's I love the brutality of the move. Where what
Byleth is
changes
the
it? I mean,
Ashen Demon.
initially, hmm there you go. And initially, it's an uppercut with a Lance of Ruin. It's similar to Dolphin Slash, kind of, but then you're dragging it down, and that adds a whole new dimension to the move. So I like that a lot. Hmm. Down. You heard my initial thoughts on the down already. Final smash. I'm with you. We can go for the onslaught. It's pretty fun and very unique. I think if we fast track one move now, it could be that.
Okay. I thought we were fast tracking
Okay.
dust too, like combining them together. Like
Yeah, if
I'm
you want
fine
to.
with that.
Okay.
It'd
Yeah,
probably
it's
be
putting
like
in the.
it's really just like an aesthetic thing, having dust and like larger rock chunks. They wouldn't. It just
Hmm.
basically be aesthetic part on that. But yeah, I mean that could
Yeah.
be part of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Throwing in the rock checks. It's just a very gentle ego stroke for me. So let's do it. As for um, gosh, we didn't really talk about the standard yet. And I think it's because it can line up with the extra skill. I think we're
Right.
knocking Crest of
Like
Flames, or we have
our sides and
Miasma and
ups are
Divine
easier.
Pulse.
Well, our ups and
Hmm.
downs are easier to figure out when they're using the same weapon, right?
Yeah, right, right. So what do you want to do? You want to fast track anything else before we get to it? Because so we're saying Dust and we're saying Heroes Relic Onslaught.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything else?
I mean, you sound like you were liking Ruined Sky a lot,
I was.
and
I
I say
was.
we just
If
go
you wanted to
Ruined
go that
Sky.
route. Okay. Okay. And that knocks my Lance of Ruin out of the picture. So we're looking at your Dragon Claw, Spasm Musty, or Beast Fang
Mm-hmm.
for the side.
And I mean, we could also
Consider Miasma for your side?
no. I was thinking like if you like the idea of the claw of the gauntlet, we could just call it. We could just have it be eviscerate, and it just has the functionality of fading blow. If you wanted to go that over Beast
Okay.
Fang, like if you like that one more, I meant. I wasn't sure like what you're leaning between like the gauntlet variant and the Beast Fang variant. So
Got it. Got it. I love the idea of using gauntlets because it's such a different idea for Fire Emblem and a different idea for Smash. But the Beast Fang for me is undeniably the cooler move. I'm just trying to figure out the function, kind of style versus function. But then again, Beast Fang also has the anti-beast element to it that makes it pretty cool too.
mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure there.
what were what was your standard again?
It was just the Sword of the Creator, which
Sort
I
of
think at
creator,
this point,
right?
right,
I mean,
right.
we could just go with Eviscerate and Beast Fang. Like, it's pretty much my entire second move set. But I mean, if we like the Gauntlet and if we like how Beast Fang is, that sounds like the winning discussion to me.
Potentially so. And I would be comfortable saying Beast Fang now.
Okay.
Um, Before we lock in that standard, I do want to approach the extra skill.
Okay. Fair enough.
I quite like my extra skill,
Mm-hmm.
and I know you do too. And you make a good point to bring up magic and wanting to use magic. And progenitor god magic is a little different than standard magic, so they're two different things. Both kind of
I also just
important
have a
to Byleth
Cynthia
and important to
bias,
Fire
so
Emblem. That's also fair. Um, my thought might be, what if Miasma was the standard? What are we thinking there?
if Miasma is the standard and if Beast Fang is a side special, then there are no gauntlets.
Ugh. And
That is how you
that's where
feel
the
about that.
difficult
I mean,
comes in.
the gauntlets, along
Mhm.
with every other sacred or hero's relic, again barring the three lords, would be appearing in the hero's relic onslaught. Each thing would do one thing. So no
Mhm.
matter what, everything will show up there, including things like Thyrsus and the Aegis shield.
Sure.
Maybe not like the little claw, the little hand jewel thingy. I don't
Yeah.
know how I would make that
Mhm.
work. But everything that's actually
Right.
maybe Thyrsus wouldn't be in that actually either.
Mhm.
Now that I think about it, I don't know. But the gauntlets at least would be in there.
Okay.
But it's basically
That's
comes
true.
down
And
to, do you want to represent the gauntlets, the
right.
the Blood Gang, or Miasma? We can fit in
Got it. Yeah.
unless Well, it's Beast Fang, Gauntlet's doing something, Miasma, or Divine Pulse. You got 2 slots.
Right. 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 Um, I do have a lean
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to agree with, but I do have my lean,
Pitch.
and my lean is okay. And my lean is my pitch. So we're looking at Beast Fang for the side because it's just really cool. And then for the standard, Miasma for the magic, extra skill, Divine Pulse for Sothis action in there. And because it's a unique, it's functionally, it can function as a counter while not being a counter. So it's an interesting move. I think the only move that I made here that actually stands on some ground.
Fair enough.
And then as for the gauntlets, I think they can appear in the final smash. They can appear in victory poses, and they might even appear in, say, the standards, which we don't write about. So
That's true. That's true.
yeah,
It could be easily be a side smash.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that's my thought. That's my pitch. We'll
Okay.
see.
I'm okay with that.
Oh,
I wanted to bring up the
okay,
question. No, I just wanted to
okay.
make sure that you were fine with it because I wanted to bring up because you had mentioned that you liked the gauntlet quick draw like attack and like being able to be pushed
Mm-hmm.
backwards. So I want to make sure
Yeah,
that
that was
you
pretty neat.
had all the options there for you. So if you're good to do eviscerate for the not eviscerate miasma for the standard, and then
Mm-hmm.
your thing for the extra skill, I'm okay with that.
Right, right. Okay. Well, shit. There you go.
There you go. So
Now
that's
here's yeah.
yes. What?
Oh, continue because I was gonna go into some bloviation for a minute.
Oh, okay. So even though like one of my movesets pretty much in its entirety got killed off, I'm still glad I made both of them because I had no idea obviously what direction you were going to come from for this. So I wanted to make sure that I had things prepared to like no matter what you came up with, I would have some sort of moves that could work with things. Granted, we ended up going with
Mm-hmm.
pretty much all of mine anyways, but for the most part. But I just wanted to make sure because
Happened a
like
few
if I
times.
had just gone with the my my non-specific combat arts one, then it would not have
Mm-hmm.
meshed at all with what you were coming up with. So
Yeah,
that's why I went ahead and made
yeah.
2 movesets for this. What were you wanting to say?
Get your first move set and just apply it to Shez. Just kidding. Um,
At one point, I
it could
considered how
potentially
I could
happen.
do something like that. I was just like, I could do that with like male Byleth character and a female Byleth character, or I could do Gerald.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Yeah.
no, I actually I think I considered doing it with Saros. Actually, that's what I was considering doing that
Mm.
for, which I could still
Ooh,
do.
buddy. Yeah, that could work.
We'll see if Saros
Yeah.
ends up being playable in Three Hopes, and I could just
Yeah.
easily do that because why not? I mean, nothing's stopping me.
Mm-hmm.
Saros is known for both her swords and her brawling, so there comes
Yep.
back the
Yep.
fading blow.
The gauntlet. Yeah, the fading wheel. Yeah, there you go. God, what a character Saros is. Oh man,
Pretty
so
much ever since
amazing.
we did Dr.
The
Mario, with pretty much every character that we do, I think to myself, can I make an echo out of this? Well, so far we
Dr.
haven't had a
Luigi, you
character
did it.
since that. Well, yeah, I did it for Dr. Luigi. We haven't had another character since then that I felt like I could do that with. But I thought about it for Byleth. I was like, I could do Saros or Gerald if I
Mm-hmm.
really wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Not yet, maybe
Yeah,
someday.
and I could I'm still thinking about doing Ninja Bread Master.
Yeah,
That might be on the docket one day, or Dr. Dolphin. I mean, I still want to do that. I don't know why I haven't
I
yet.
don't know why you do. It's literally just a fucking dolphin. Why? You're just doing it to troll.
That might be the ideal.
I hate it. I hate it. All right, let's keep
But
going with Byleth because
yeah.
we are at 2 hours here.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and wrap this
Okay.
up.
Okay.
So first of all, do you have any like unique traits for Byleth, wall jumps or anything like that? Because I did not. I figured Byleth and Smash already
No.
does not have any, and I didn't really nothing I felt like fit. Okay, you don't, so good.
Mm-hmm.
Alternate costumes. So I kept most of what's already in Ultimate. I kept Male Byleth having an alt for Dimitri and Claude, and female Byleth having an alt for Edelgard and kind of Sothis. Actually, no, I guess it is actually
Hmm.
Sothis. But I added in
Yeah.
some more as well. I gave male Byleth a orange colored alt for Geralt and a gray silvery alt for Gatekeeper because why not? And then female
Oh my
Byleth
god.
also got an alt, a white colored alt for Yuri, and then uh, whereas where the Sothis alt was like green and blue, I decided to also have a Rhea alt for blue and gold because I figured
Okay.
if I'm putting in Gatekeeper, Rhea
Yeah, why
should
not?
probably be one of the alts. It's just kind of similar to Sothis, but what can you do? Maybe I could like swap Sothis onto male Byleth and like put Geralt on female, maybe. But what about you? What do you have?
Hmm. I'm glad you had something because I forgot that we needed to add at least two more. So
Nice,
I was like, the
nice.
ones from Smash. We can do a Shez one with purple hair. I mean, you actually could. Um, but don't need to get into that territory.
If I did that, I'm cutting Gatekeeper.
Yeah, we definitely don't need to get into that territory.
All right then. What did you think about like what I just mentioned? Like, should I move Rhea? Should I like swap Rhea and Geralt or Gatekeeper around to put so that there's not like two like Sothis and Rhea on female Byleth, or is it fine?
I think it's fine.
Okay, it's fine.
I think it's fine. Yeah.
Fuck it.
Gatekeeper, you can't cut him. He's one of the most popular characters in Fire Emblem. A
Thanks,
sad but true
heroes.
fact.
Thanks, heroes.
Yeah.
And then really the last thing to talk about with Byleth is just like the home stage, which I assume we're both just gonna say the Garrick Mach Monastery stage that's already in Smash. Because I
Yeah.
think graphically it could use an improvement, but mechanically I don't really have an issue with it.
Yeah. Mechanically, I mean, if I were to make changes to it, it'd probably just be adding a couple more areas to fight. There's nothing wrong with the areas that are already there. So,
Yeah, I mean they limited themselves to having just four because you can have a Black Eagle spot, a Golden Deer, a Blue Lions, and a Church of Saros, but they could add a fifth for the Ashen Wolves.
yep. It's like, welcome to the underground, friends.
Yeah, granted, I still have not done the DLC, so I don't know what the location looks like underground. But yeah,
Hmm.
sure,
Hmm.
fuck it.
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. I think we need to ask ourselves a question now that we've put this milestone episode behind us.
What's that?
Uh, did we make a better moveset than Ultimate?
Well, I think we're both
Yes.
biased. Yes, but I think the
Yeah.
better question is, what do the viewers think? So,
Put
if you're
out that
watching,
poll, baby.
let us know. Do you think the moveset for Byleth is better in Smash Ultimate, or do you think we came up with a better moveset? Let us
Hmm.
know. Also, Kelly Jelly made a moveset for Byleth before Byleth was even revealed for Smash. So if you haven't seen that yet, go to the Smashtopia wiki and check out Kelly Jelly's version of Byleth on there, and tell us if you think Kelly made a better version of Byleth than both us and Smash. That's a three-way
Hmm.
race. Who do you think won?
It is. Who do you think won? We're gonna get a couple people that we know saying Ultimate, and we're gonna have to ban them from our channel.
I mean,
So,
that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do.
all right.
Sorry.
Bye, Jake.
All right, so that's everything to do with Byleth here. We
And
can
the Duke
finally
forever.
put this curse behind this. Maybe the Byleth jokes will stop now. Maybe. But, anyways, next time on Supercast Brothers, we are doing another Smash Dash episode as always. And this one is going to be very, very sciencey based, very, very evil,
Oh yeah.
mad scientist. Let's see who we pick between these crazed, villainous men of science. I really want to like try and tease any of them individually better, but they're all evil scientists. It's not that hard to figure out who is a big name evil scientist in video games. You can probably name all four that we're going to be doing, and probably some more that you'll see us in
What
a
I'll
couple
say is,
weeks or in 5 minutes if you're watching this
don't
after we've uploaded.
blame don't blame Barry for everything.
I don't know who that's
That's
referring
my
to,
that's my
but bye everyone.
one of them. Sweet dreams, or sweet morning sun. Goodbye.
Morning, evening, afternoon.